All right, guys, today is the 15th of September, 2020, and we're going to go over a couple things. First, we're going to go over Egyptian culture, and then we're going to go over a project you're going to be doing. I'm going to move through this kind of quickly. I know you have a lot to do today. Different videos about different parts of Egyptian culture, so I don't want to get too bogged down. All right, so we're going to power through. All right, the do now, which we just talked about in class, is what is culture, and as we discuss, culture is kind of all the ways in which humanity and humans display their achievements, whether it be through food or clothing or dance or song or educational goals and achievements, construction. This is our culture. It's very wide ranging. All right. You have two key terms that you're going to be held responsible for. And this is the first time I've really given you key terms. Whenever I give you new notes and they have key terms, you must know them because they could very well come up on tests. They don't all come up on tests, but a lot of them do. And so the first thing, as we've discussed, culture. And culture is the arts and other ways we show human intellectual achievement regarded collectively, which means as a group of people, as a whole group of humans. Right? Those include, as I said, art, architecture, writing, music, clothing, holidays and celebrations, and food. The other key term on there is polytheism, the worship of many gods. Right? People who practice polytheism are considered polytheists. All right. So the religion of the ancient Egyptians. All right. Ancient Egyptians were polytheists. Their nature and religion were mixed together, which means myths and their gods were used to explain the world around them, whether it be floods, night sky, things along those lines. One of my absolute favorites is the myth of Nut, who, if you're in my classroom, I can show you that picture to remind me so I don't forget. And it's a woman who basically covered the planet with her body, and she ate the sun every night for sunset and then gave birth to it again for the next day. And they said that her body protected the Egyptians from things from coming from space. All right. Some famous Egyptian gods are Ra, Anubis, Osiris, and Horus. You can see what they are the individual gods of, Ra being the most important. All right. Here is an example of a tomb. I took this picture in the Valley of the Kings, and you can see actually Nut up in the top, right? So let's give her a quick little look. There's Nut right here. You can see her body, right? Then you can see that she's eating the sun for sunset. And you can see that she will give birth later on. You can see, if you look closely, these are stars painted on her body, projected the nighttime stars. And these people represent the Egyptians, like as a civilization. Mm-hmm. All right. So in the afterlife, Egyptians believe that you died and you went to an afterlife. To reach that afterlife, your body had to be preserved, and you should be buried with the things you would need to survive in that afterlife. Hence why pharaohs, kings, noble people were buried in these elaborate tombs with many, many items. And why poor people, even the poorest of people, were often buried with a bowl or a spoon, something to help them eat. All right, this picture I took is from inside of King Tut's tomb. All right. Mummies, they were made through an embalming process that you're going to watch a short video on. The organs removed, they were prepared, their bodies were specially prepared, and then they were wrapped in linen, a type of cotton. The dry desert air helped to preserve them, and the process could take over 70 days from start to finish. You'll notice that they give you a time of 35 days in the video, but that's just for the drying of the exterior of the body. All right, here is a picture that I bribed the security guard in the Valley of the Kings. That is King Tut. His body, for as famous as he is actually quite poorly preserved. Many Egyptologists believe that his body was rushed, that he died unexpectedly and they were unprepared, and so his body was not properly preserved. Right? Tombs house the mummies and their items, as we already mentioned. They would include things like food, games, mummified pets. They would unfortunately kill the pets of the person, and some boats. Outside of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, there is actually a boat known as the Solar Boat. You can go see it. All right. This pyramids are guarded by the Great Sphinx, which lays in front of it. Most people don't realize they're so close to each other, though we don't know what the meaning of the Sphinx is. After a while, they realized that the putting a giant pyramid over these things was a bad idea. They were like neon signs of "Come rob me," and so later kings removed their tombs were moved south near Luxor, today's city of Luxor, and buried in the Valley of the Kings. The tombs were hidden in the ground. It's really incredible when you go to Valley of Kings. You can see all these openings in the side of the hills and in the cliffs, and those are tombs of pharaohs, of Egyptian pharaohs. Some are massive. These tombs are 2, 3, 4 stories underneath the ground, multiple rooms, up to, I think it's like 20, 25 rooms. Pretty impressive stuff. Priests and architects also had tombs, usually quite small, but they did have tombs that you would walk into. Here are the Great Pyramids, as you can see. The greatest pyramid, the Khufu pyramid over here, each one for his sons after that, who built themselves. And here is the Sphinx. All right, here's the Great Sphinx. When it was kind of rediscovered, it wasn't never lost, but it was actually buried up to its head right about here in sand, desert. And they had to dig it out. And if you look real closely in the background, you can see people, right? And they've built this wall around it so you can, it won't get recovered by the sand. And as always, here's embarrassing photos of me. That's my wife, Erica, a few years ago. Notice has that nice, healthy looking smile and glow, and me looking like I'm about 4 more steps away from a massive heart attack. The reason I include that picture is that is within inside of the Great Pyramids. All right. This is the Valley of the Kings. You cannot take photographs in there because they want you to buy photographs that they take in there. So you can see the road, and then the valley is right on the other side of this road. This is King Tut's outer sarcophagus. His body is not in there. It's in that other case as I showed you. And that kind of wraps it up for mummies. All right. All right, Egyptian writing paper. They used a writing system created about 5,000 years ago called hieroglyphics. It's a series of symbols that represent sounds very similar to ours, right? Other cultures that I've mentioned in class before, like Japanese or Chinese, they represent like concepts or words, right? And you can see some of the hieroglyphics here. When combined, they would make sounds that made our words no different than us. They also invented a type of paper called papyrus, which we're going to watch a short video on and how it's made. It's strong. It was used to send messages. We still have many fragments of it and even entire sheets of it left over from this time period. The Egyptians made great advancements in basic understanding of geometry. They developed a 365-day calendar based on the phases of the moon, as well as the moving of the stars across the night sky, very similar to ours. And they could perform very basic medical procedures, such as dental surgery, removing bad teeth. And they could put prosthetic eyes. They would actually shape smooth round eyes, put them in a hole if you had lost an eye, and they would paint them and try to look, realistic. Not quite different than a lot of people undergo today. All right, we're going to talk about your project. We're going to talk about it in class. You're going to create a project, and what it's going to be is 500 words. You're going to write a myth. All right, you're going to create a god. You can make a god of anything, right? You please though pick like a natural item, a natural event. Rain, stars, etc. And you're going to kind of tell me a little bit about your god, where they get their powers, maybe a little bit of a story about them. I provided on this one the myth of Sobek, who is the crocodile god. You can read that on your own, right? You can either pause the video or you can go ahead and read it in the notes on the PDF, right? And lastly, I want you to just kind of, as you wrap this up and before you move on to videos, kind of consider this, like, why do you think so much of the Egyptian culture is still so memorable and fascinating to humans today? All right, quick video as promised. Get to work. I'll talk to you guys. Have a good day.